Hey everyone, welcome back to Coding from Null. Last week we learned all about how to handle notifications for our users. This week we're going to add on to that a little bit. What we want to do is give our user sort of the perception that something is happening, and even kind of that something is happening faster than it actually is. And how we can do that is with the use of animations. So what we'll do is we'll actually, when the user submits email submission to us, we'll then speed up the little gear icon, giving the user sort of a feel that our application is doing something and that it's kind of running just a little bit faster than it actually is. So let's go ahead and start looking into that and how we can do this with some cool CSS tricks. All right, so here we are where we left off last week, where we got our notification cooking along. Now this week we want to add in that extra animation that we see in the production of our site. So if I go ahead, just type in some bogus email, we see that we have this nice little spin of the gear. This isn't really aligning properly for some reason. I think, again, I'm going to change this service for this, but basically it's just giving that nice little spin of the gear saying, hey, I'm working on something. That should be a bit faster. That's why I think I'm going to change my server service. But anyway, regardless of that, we have this nice little, if we do this again, it should just fire away right up from the start. And that's kind of more what we're looking for. We get this nice little spin, like, "Hey, I'm working on something," and then the message pops up. So how do we make that happen? So let's go ahead and first pull up the logo notification that will be, or the logo component that we're going to be working on. Now, what we're going to be using to set the speed of this, we're going to just pass it a prop, and we're just going to call that spin speed. So in the logo here, we're just going to say spin speed. And in the class name, it's important that we're not doing this on the image itself. It actually has to be done at a higher level. It's got to be on the wrapping element. So on the div, what we are going to do is actually do some string interpolation here. We'll use backticks and set the class name as logo container, just like it was, and then spin speed as well. There we go. So whether it's fast or slow, whatever that spin speed is, we're going to take that into account as well. Okay. Now on the CSS side of things, we need to say, hey, when that spin speed is, where we want it, we need to then adjust our animation speed. And we will do that in the logo.css. So let's go ahead and open that up. Logo. So before we just had the logo container and just the logo, and then we have our keyframes down here to satisfy the spinning of the animation that we have. We want to have the ability to speed that up a bit. We have it set normally at 20 seconds, but when it speeds up, we want to set this to 5 seconds. So up here on the parent container, we will say animation, and we'll say, let's go ahead and get rid of all this. I don't need all that. We'll say logo spin. So we're going to be using the same keyframe, the same animation, rotate 0 to 360 degrees, infinite, and then 5 seconds and linear. But we want to be able to say, basically, when the logo container also contains the class name of either slow or fast, we want to set whether this animation is playing or not. So how we do that is we'll say dot slow. So when we pass in just slow, we want the animation play state to be paused. And what that is going to do is going to pause this animation and allow this animation to continue on. But when it's fast, we want this animation to take over. And so how we do that is we'll say dot fast, and then we'll say animation play state, and we'll say running. Okay, now we need a way to change whether the class name is either slow or fast. And we want to know based on when somebody has hit that subscribe button. Well, let's go ahead and look at our top level component here, the coming soon. And let's look at kind of some stuff that we were doing last week where, okay, we needed something from subscribe. We needed some sort of information from the subscribe component to then pass in to this description component. And how we handled that was passing in a function to this component that then updates state for the coming soon. So it updates this notification state, which then funnels it down to the description here. We're going to be using that same sort of concept. So what we want to do is we want to write a function here that is going to handle the changing of the speed of the logo. And so I'm just going to go ahead and copy this from the production one that's already done, and then we will just go over what is on here. So we have another function here. We're pulling the logo out of state, and we are going to set the spin speed to fast, and then set the set a timeout for 1 second, and then reset it to slow. You'll notice that it's a lot like the notification one that we had, where we just wanted to show the notification for 3 seconds. Now that's the same idea here. We just want to speed up the logo for 1 second and then go back to the normal slow regular pace that we had before. So in order to update this state, we need to then pass in this function to the subscribe component here, just like we did with configure notification and show notification. So in here we'll just say, what was the name of that? Change logo speed. We'll say change logo speed equals change logo speed. This dot change logo speed. Perfect. Now we need to go into subscribe and then call this function somewhere in here. So what we'll do is we'll come up right over here before we set the email state back to an empty string. We'll just say this dot props dot change logo speed back. Go ahead and give that a save. So now we are now passing in that function. This is going to do all the same stuff that we had before and figure out how it needs to configure the notification and everything. And then it's going to call this change logo speed and then speed that up to give that user a little bit of a feeling like, hey, this application is actually doing something behind the scenes. So let's go ahead and go into our application here. And something funky is going on. It's spinning really fast all of a sudden, like right off the bat. So why the heck is it doing that? And that is because we have yet to take into account the initial state, right? We haven't set up any sort of logo speed here, or spin speed, right? So that is what we need to do up at the logo level here in our state. We need to set spin speed, and the initial state is just going to be slow. go ahead and give that a save. We compiled successfully. Go into our app. Let's go ahead and refresh. Now something funky is going on here. It is still spinning really fast. Let's go ahead and inspect this. And see our div container animation. That's at 20 seconds. All right. So the missing part that we are seeing here is that, remember, we are passing in this updater function here, but where are we then passing in the updated state? We're not. So that's what we need to do here in this logo. We need to then pass in that spin speed so it knows what speed to set it at. And so we will come into here and we will just say spin speed equals logo dot spin speed. Go ahead and give that a save. And now we see our initial state taking over and it's going nice and slow. Now let's go ahead and put in an email submission and see what happens. We have this nice little spin, we get our notification, bam, everything is cooking along. So now we know how we can sort of speed up that animation and give the user just a little bit of a feel. And obviously nothing is running faster at all, but it gives them the feeling that something is happening and that it actually appears to be going a little bit faster, which is just a nice little user experience thing to add on there. And let's go ahead and make sure that some of our other states are working as well. We'll try the warning state, and bam, looking pretty good. So there we are with that. Hope you learned a bit this week about how to change animations and just give your users kind of a little bit more of a feel like things are actually happening on the application. And so next week we will start digging into how we set up some social links on our site. And so I hope to see you all next week. And yeah, I'll see you all then.